Hi buddy, Michael here. Today's video I want to discuss, are British YouTubers serving as demoralisation agents for our enemies? Let's go. Okay, I want to do this video because Yuri Bezmenov, the expert on ideological subversion by communists, spoke of how the Soviets would take over the West with communist propaganda. And their goal was to demoralise Western nations so that they could push communism and take over. I believe that's currently happening now with BRICS, the likes of Russia and China, looking to become the global hegemony. Hence, the West is being subverted with all this Marxist communist propaganda. And the interesting thing is, when we talk about demoralization, this is one thing Yuri Bezmenov said when he was in America, you know, a couple of decades after this all started. This is probably about 20 years ago. It's been a 40, 50-year plan. And he said, Colonel Andropov, or whatever his name is, wouldn't believe how successful the operation has been because you have Americans demoralizing fellow Americans. So that the Russians or the communists didn't even need to do it themselves because most of it was done from Americans to Americans. And that's exactly what is happening in Britain at the moment with our YouTubers. Because when I watch all these YouTubers, most of the British ones, none of them offer really any solutions, and they post rage bait, they post slop videos, all designed to hit the algorithm and to get views for monetizational purposes. But ask yourself, when you watch these videos, do you leave there hopeful? Do you leave inspired? Or do you leave depressed? You're basically doom scrolling because all they provide is content to demoralize the British people. You know, every video is more illegals have come. Look what this another legal migrant did. Look at this that they're pushing in the schools. Look what the two-tier police are doing. Look at another Islamic person has been put in a position of power. It's complaining, complaining, complaining. And don't get me wrong, I understand that we need to be aware of what's going on. But unless you're offering solutions and some form of positivity, then all you're doing is demoralizing the British people. And I believe that many of them, whilst they seemingly care because they obviously care about their country, a lot of them are happy to do what they do because they feel like they're making a difference, because their business is growing, they're making lots of money, but they're not actually serving the purposes of the people, they're just demoralizing the people. And this has been going on for 10 years. Have we made any progress as a nation? No, we're getting worse and worse. But their bank accounts are growing. They're making lots of money. They may have 1 million subscribers or whatever. But is this the reason they got into the business? Or into what they call these so-called movements? I don't think so. And I think a lot of the money, a lot of these subscriptions, buy me a coffees and all this stuff, I believe are nefarious enemies of us funding their channels without them even knowing. Because you can do it on Substack, on Buy Me a Coffee, anonymously. You know, if I was an enemy of Britain, I would find as much extreme content or as much people posting demoralization content and I'd just fund them. I'd just go, well, chuck 100 grand their way. That's nothing to these people. And for an example, when it comes to the nationalism, people are rightly becoming more nationalist because they realize our culture and our demographics is changing and we're essentially being replaced. And that's a sensible counteract. But if I was an enemy of Britain, what I would do is I would push away voices like me, sensible, wise people who are going to come up with sensible solutions that most people are going to take seriously. I would ignore those accounts and I would look to extremists like Steve Laws, like Zoom historians. And I would go onto Twitter, on YouTube, and I would push as many bots, as much funding to these accounts to make nationalism seem insane. So all of a sudden, instead of a sensible nationalist like myself, even though I'm a traditionalist, not a nationalist, I'd shut myself up and I would push Steve Laws, Zoom historian, and they're going on about the Nazis, Jew conspiracies, complete basically racial hatred. And I would do that to make sure that nationalism never gains any credibility. And also, if it does gain any credibility, then I'd use these National Socialist sympathisers to be the face of it so that I can destroy it any time I feel like I need to. It would be easy. Whereas they wouldn't be able to destroy myself because I'm coming at it from a place of love with the Spirit of God, of which they can't defeat. But if I put children of Satan like Steve Laws, Zoom historian, in charge of it, Boom. Whenever I wanted to destroy the nationalist movement, it would take me 1 second. And basically the purpose of this video is for me to tell most people, I think you should unfollow the majority of British YouTubers. Mainly if they're demoralizing you. If you watch their content and every video is negative, is demoralizing you, ignore them, come and listen to myself and people like myself. People who are offering solutions and inspire you somewhat, listen to us rather than these people, because I'm doing this for the spirit and for the nation and to serve the people. I'm not even going to monetize this channel. That's a recent decision I've made to make sure it's pure in nature. Whereas these people, they get into YouTube to make money and to demoralize you. They have no interest in solutions because they're making lots of money doing what they're doing. And one thing I've noticed recently is I found a lot of these don't even live in England. A lot of these people, especially on X, they don't even live in England. They've left England and they're making their money by posting a load of slop on X and YouTube and getting monetized. And every time they get a post that blows up, they goes, "Oh guys, just remember to buy me a coffee." And just to clarify, I'm not talking about Paul Thorpe when I say that. I'm talking about others. I actually don't mind Paul Thorpe too much. I actually think he genuinely cares. I personally think he should still live in the UK, but that's up to him. And I'm not specifically talking about him. I know he's the popular one people talk about. I'm talking about more extremist people who are morons who don't really care about British people, and they're spiritually blind, and they're not classy people, and they're essentially in it for themselves first and foremost. And if you just look at, for example, my content that I provide, a lot of my videos are offering solutions and telling people, like I've done a video on what the Way of the Logos is all about. That's the reason I set up this account. It's a spiritual movement to heal our nation with the power of the Spirit and the love of God. That's the main aim of Way of the Logos UK. And I've done videos explaining what Way of the Logos is, explaining my sensible remigration plan, explaining to our young people not to get radicalized into communism and National Socialism and to follow God. That's positive solutions for our youth. I've explained why they shouldn't go to university. So more solutions. I've done a video exposing how our economy is a complete and utter fraud. But more importantly, I've explained the solutions on how we can fix our broken financial system rather than just complaining. I've had videos even by Yuri Bezanov, who's an expert on the subversion. I posted a video of his solution on how we can overcome the problems, which he says is the power of the Spirit. Yeah, I've done videos exposing scammers in the movement, such as Raise the Colours, how the founder of Raise the Colours, or the co-founder, was a provable scammer, and to probably avoid these people. I've also done videos explaining why we need a national strike and how that will help us solve our problems. I've done videos of how not to be depressed about the state of the country. And I've also done videos for young British men, or British men in general, about how not to, or basically discussing the topic of suicide among young men, because 12 men a day commit suicide. And I've given them a spiritual perspective on how to overcome the darkness of the world. So in my videos, I try to provide solutions, hope, and inspire people that we can make positive change. And I'm not saying all this to big myself up. I'm just trying to show you what we need to be doing. Don't follow all these fakes and frauds who, number one, they don't have the wisdom to find the solutions in the first place. And two, they don't really care about solutions. As long as they're getting clicks, monetization, and money, they're happy. Whereas I will only be happy once I start seeing positive real world change. And with all that being said, that's why I encourage you to share this YouTube channel as much as possible. This is about a real spiritual movement, not a religious or fake hippie spiritual, but a real spiritual movement to help solve the problems in the UK, because that's the only way to solve our problems. Yuri Bezmenov said, you can only solve the problems with the power of the Spirit. But it has to be the Spirit of truth, the Spirit of Christ, and the way of the Logos. That's what this is all about. Okay, so like the video, share it with as many people as you can to get this message out there. Subscribe if you're new, and God bless everybody today. Goodbye.